Vero. Thank you for joining me today. We are going to be going through our part 2 of making your own junk journal, and today we're going to be talking all about cover options. I am going to go over 3 cover options with you before we can proceed with, making our signatures and putting it all together. You really need to decide what kind of cover you want. So like I said, I'm going to go through 3 different cover options, and I do have just a couple of things set out, so let me move them aside. So the first cover option I want to go over is much like this journal that I showed you initially when we were talking in our first junk journals video. So this is one that I made for a traveler's notebook, and as I mentioned in that video, the cover of this is simply made from scrapbook paper. So it's just paper. No, it is a little bit more durable because I did decorate it and then I did cover it in packaging tape so that all of the ephemera wouldn't get damaged. But with something like this, it's not super durable. My recommendation is only to do something like this if it is going to be in some kind of other cover or traveler's notebook style. With something like this, it's really simple. All you really need is scrapbook paper. Now this is just the first paper pad that I grabbed. Not necessarily sure I would make a junk journal cover out of it, but whatever makes you happy. So all that you would do is you would take your piece of paper. I'll take this one out for example. I'll probably sneak this in our journal, why not? Okay, so then you'll have your piece of paper, and all that you would need to do is you're going to cut it down and fold it. Keep in mind, when you are using scrapbook paper, of course scrapbook paper is 12 by 12, so the widest you're going to be able to make any book is going to be 6 across. And of course 12 high, I would recommend 6 by 9 if you are going through this process. And I do think I will put this in our junk journal that we are making throughout this video just for a little added touch from the video. So that's making it with scrapbook paper. And if you make it with scrapbook paper, I wouldn't make it with paper like this. Typically paper that is one-sided and has the white on the back, it's going to be a little bit thinner. I would recommend some of that, it's like really heavy duty feeling cardstock almost, and it's double-sided, so there's going to be a print on both sides. That way you also don't have white inside of your journal. I did, but I just drew on it and stuff. Well, not on this side, but on this side I did. I just started using it as a page. So you can do that. You can definitely do that. That is up to you. So that is option number 1. Option number 2 is the complete opposite side of the spectrum, and that's going to be making your own cover. This is bookboard or chipboard. It goes by many names. It is basically very, very sturdy cardboard. You can get this on Amazon. You could commandeer some from some really heavy-duty boxes you have. That is really the option that you have there. But with this, you actually would be making a book in the proper sense. And that is a video that we will do. We will get to that. But it would involve, cutting your chipboard down to size, make sure you have a piece for the spine, everything like that. So I will link some chipboard down below if you are interested in making your own from scratch. And with this, you can't see the stitching because you actually bind your junk journal in a different method. And your stitching is going to be locked inside of your spine on this one. So you're not going to see your stitching. It's definitely going to be more durable. It does take longer though. This is a process. In this process, you are essentially making a book. But it is an option. I wanted to give it to you guys just in case that's what you are looking for. So that is option number 2. I'll set that over here. And option number 3 is really the reason I wanted to make this video. Option number 3 is using an old book. So these are just a couple of books that I got from Goodwill, I want to say. I did have books around my house. You probably do too. However, the books that I have kept, I have an emotional attachment to, so I did not want to cut them open. They were my Harry Potter books. So I just want to show you guys a couple of things to look for when you're looking at books. So let's use this one for an example. Now this is just, a standard size book that you would see, hardcover book, and I believe, yeah, it's 6 by 9 1/4. So it's a typical 6 by 9 size, and it is about, I think, This one was an inch. Yeah, and this one has a 1-inch spine. This is a really, really good sized book to use for junk journaling unless you're wanting a smaller one. I actually purchased this one because 1, I was interested in reading it, and 2, there were some really interesting pictures in it. Do you guys remember this? I don't know. I can't remember. What was her name? That's gonna drive me insane. I bet you it's in here. Here we go. Oh, Susan Polk. Okay, yeah, I remember this, but I thought when I saw it at the store, I was like, I really want to read that and see what that's about. But aside from this being the perfect size and perfect width book, there is one thing I want to mention. When you open your book here, you can kind of see how the text block, which is what this is right here, all your pages bound together. This is called a text block. You can see how your text block is attached to the actual book cover. And you can see right here, there's like a tiny piece of cardboard. If you have a book that you would like to use, the main thing you need to do is make sure you can shove your finger down in here, or a craft knife or something like that. I will use my, well, maybe not that. I'll use this just so you guys can see without my fingers being in the way. So you can see how there's some space in there. You can actually see down in there. Now this one's pretty tight and it looks like there's some adhesive that runs through it. So it might be a little bit harder to get this cover off of this text block, but it is possible. The one I really want you guys to look for is something like this. This is like a perfect specimen to me to become a junk journal. This one's a little bit larger. It is 6.5 by 9.5, and I believe it's spine. Yeah, it's got a 1.5-inch spine. This book is beautiful as is, just saying. I mean, look at how the pages are cut. Anyway, when you're looking for a good book contestant, same process as I showed you with that one. But when we open this one up, you can really see that spacing. I mean, how easy the text block is separated. So with these books, all that they have, hardcover books, all that they have securing the text block to the book cover is these inside pages. So I can show you guys really quick. I'll show you on both of them, since I know this is going to be such a short video and I don't want to take your time up without giving you something interesting. I will show you how to quickly gut a book so that you could use it as your cover. So when you're looking at it here, like I mentioned, the only thing holding this on is this paper. So you see how this paper is attached not only to the book, but also to the spine and the text block here. So we want to just look right here. And then typically in a lot of older books, you'll see some fraying and stuff like that already. And this doesn't have to be perfect. All you want to do is not cut yourself and run your craft knife or your slice tool, whatever it is you're using, straight down. Now sometimes you will see some kind of mesh behind this. Just keep cutting through it until you see the other side of that book board. So I'm not sure if you guys can see that there. I'll hold it up a little bit. We've just completely unattached the text block from the book cover on one side. So we're going to flip it over and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And there's more of that mesh on this side, so I'll run through again. Okay, so now the text block is not attached to the book cover on the sides, but we're still seeing some attachment. So more than likely they've got some kind of glue running through here, which they do. So all I do is I bend my book cover over like this, and I just kind of pinch it together, and I look for that adhesive. So you can see the adhesive is right here. Now you could use something like Goo Gone or something like that, or you can do as I do. Be careful though, and just slice it. Typically it's something like PVA or rubber cement, and that is completely okay, you guys. It actually came off of this, which is just an extra piece of backing that they put on after the text block is made. Don't throw this away. These are an amazing thing to include in your junk journal. It is one thing I will be including in the junk journal we're making in this series, and there's a ton of other uses for it as well. Don't throw away your text blocks. So this is what you're left with, and you can clean it up a little bit so that it's not bumpy when we move on to the next process. But then you have a book cover all ready to go. So when you're using this chipboard, this is the same material. When you're using this chipboard, you're actually going to go through the process of cutting a front and a back, or trying, if you're doing a smaller size, you could just do some perforations where you could fold this just like this is folded. I recommend the book method. I think it's really cool. If you don't mind seeing the stitching, I mean, there's always ways to cover your stitching as well through the decoration process. So there's that one, and I'm really curious to see what's going on with this one. I don't know if there's some, like a heavy amount of glue in here or what. So we're gonna cut through this one as well. You're gonna see what's inside here. I like to know why things are the way they are. I like to know what makes things work, what makes people tick. So I am just one of those people, and my curiosity is going to get the better of me today. So I've cut that one, and you can see it's kind of still the same thing. So yeah, it's got that kind of rubber cement type glue in there. You guys be really careful when you're doing this. It's very easy to get hurt. So we'll flip it over, and we will do the same thing over here. And you see, oh, you guys can see the mesh here. So I didn't cut through the mesh, but you can actually see it since I didn't cut through it. So it's just like a plastic mesh here, and you do want to make sure you cut through it because it does run through the text block, and it actually, because it runs through the text block and it's behind this paper, it's going to make it near impossible for you to get your book apart. So let's just cut through this side as well. And you can see they kind of do it in lines, so you can get it apart with a little bit of patience. I mean, don't go through and just like gash your book all to pieces. You obviously don't want to destroy your book. So the spine on this one is a lot thinner. It's like a really, really thin piece of chipboard here and really tough on the outside. So that's really interesting. I don't think I've had one like this before. Typically, I do use a lot of vintage books when I do this, ones that are just beyond repair. And you can see because it was so thin, I actually did tear it a little bit right here. But because we're going to be reinforcing the spine before we move on to inserting our signatures, I'm not too worried about it. All right. So that's where I'm going to leave it this week. It's just really simple. I just wanted to give you guys a couple of options so that you know where you want to go to move forward. So just to recap, using scrapbook paper or something similar, may it be an old envelope, a lunch bag. I've seen some really, really creative and amazing things that people have done for their covers. Option 1 and option 2, using an old book cover. And these two, the process of putting your journal together is going to be exactly the same. It is only the fact that you have to prep this one that is different. Everything else is going to be the same as far as securing your signatures. Option number 3 is the one where you're going to be using the chipboard and you're actually going to be making your own. Like I mentioned, this is a much longer process. It is going to take longer, and the way that you put everything together is going to be different. I will do a video on this. It is going to come after we are done assembling our first 2 options, simply because this takes a lot of time, and it will probably be 3 or 4 videos on its own, if I'm being completely honest. So I am going to leave it at that today, guys. If you have any questions about where to source it or anything like that, I will link my first video down below in case you missed out on that. And I will see you guys the same time next week, and we will begin to prepare our covers and our signatures to get ready for binding. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.